This is the 22nd season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Had a great evening show yesterday with LFG Lake Fork guy Justin Rackley. Really smart dude. Been around for a long time. Like I said, I remember when Chip Porsche and I, and then fishing the college deal, Rackley was there for A&M, and he was always like a little bit ahead of the curve. Like even back then, he was messing with YouTube and doing some stuff, won a national championship. And then obviously a funny story I didn't tell to him. So like right after, or like a little bit late, to the social media game, I think a lot of people in the fishing world as a whole were, and it was probably like 2017, 2018. And we had him on BTL, and I called him at the time, and I was like, hey man, like, yeah, you want to jump on BTL? He's like, yeah, Jeffries is still running it. And I was like, it could help with your following and things. I think at the time he had like 250,000 already. It was funny, but good to talk with him. Would love to get him in the boat to get his PB crappie. Speaking of which, tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time, CTL returns, Big River Slabs. Took a little bit of a drive and got on the boat with Levi and caught some 2+ pound crappie in a really skinny stretch of river. That was cool. So if you're into that, 7 p.m. We're going to debut the video and then do an hour-long kind of live show breaking down all those tips and tactics if you're interested in catching some of those giant winter slabs. We then continue on this week. The first tournament of the year just took off. Sam Rayburn, BFL. We'll get into it with our guest today. The man has spent a day or two on Sam Rayburn in his life. It is the one and only. Now, this is a bold move. Todd Castledine, second show of the year. I have no idea where this is going to go, but thank you, Todd. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy, a lot going on, especially in the beginning of the year. So thank you for jumping on BTL.
No, I appreciate it. I was really in shock when you asked me to be on.
Why?
I think this is the second time you've ever asked me.
I think it was the third. I think I've had you on, and then I had you do. We did the late night.
Yeah, but you berated me all that one the first show. So like this might.
Oh no. This is we're gonna. Who knows where this is gonna go? Dude, we'll dive into this. So the thumbnail for this show, like I discovered thumbnails. Like I said, bass fishing, I'm a little bit behind the times here. So at 41, I was like, oh, these thumbnails are easy to make and they're kind of fun. So I put you holding a minnow on the front, and then I put every single controversial or clickbait topic that I could think of in the fishing industry, and then I sent it to a couple buddies, and we're like, "What do you think of this?" And they're like, "Oh, that'll be a great show." And I'm like, "No, it's like a joke because it's like Todd Castledine talks about everything, and then it's every single like controversial clickbait topic I could think of." And where it's such an interesting day and time in professional bass fishing where everybody was like, oh yeah, I want to know about all those things.
You got me a little bit because I instantly just looked at the picture and was like, oh, okay, he's got me with the minnow thing. And then everything else, I was like, well, I started reading it going, man, do I have all these topics? Like I was kind of confused going, I hope these are a lot of his topics because I don't know, like, I'm sometimes well informed, but I was like, man, maybe I don't know about some of this going on.
It's Todd talks about live scope, lie detector test, and no info rules. And then I put plus the time the cops were called. That always gets views. Fishing around angry marina owners. If you can combine angry marina owners and cops, that's a recipe for just pure gold. On the water confrontations, Karen's on a dock and fishing for 100K.
Well, see, like all of those fit into play except the Karen's on the dock. That's the only one. I mean, it's sort of the marina thing I've had an issue with, but nothing. I've actually never had a single confrontation with anyone fishing on a dock.
Now, didn't you have a deal? If you don't want to talk about this stuff, you don't have to. But I was thinking because I just put it because it was you and I've always wanted to do that title. But wasn't there an FLW tournament on Texoma that got canceled, and there was a big, like this kind of is like a like a landmark case, in my opinion. Like every once in a while, they'll have a court case that then other ones refer to, where it was during the spawn. What was the deal with that? Because it had to do with walking docks during canceled days to locate bedding fish, and it turned into like, it. Can you do it? Can you not do it? Is it ethical? Is it not ethical?
I thought you were talking about my video that went viral, big time viral, over that same tournament. So a lot happened that tournament. Now that I think about it, yeah, there was that, and then they canceled the first 2 days because of wind.
Yeah.
And then there was a high school event with like 200 boats going on.
Yeah, that went viral.
And then our entire event went out there that same day. And I was like boat 164. I was like third to last boat to leave. And I got into, I had a little deal with a high school team. And you know me, like, I don't really like videos where they just show you like 30 seconds of the thing and you don't have any context. So I went back through all my stuff and edited it like as much as I possibly could to show everything I could to lead up to the thing. And I still kind of got a little bit, you know how comments are. But what was funny was, yeah, the tournament director on my end was not upset with me at all. The tournament director for the high school event contacted me, said I was totally in the right, and they DQ'd the high school team over that. And they still said people still said I should have done it differently. And I'm like, well, when everyone agreed with me, and they got caught, there was like 4 violations that they got caught with. And it was none of the high school kids' fault. It was all the boat captain guy's fault. The high school kids just happened to be a part of the thing. But yes, before all that, they had I was like the last guy off the water that day. And I ran into a guy. So I was coming out, the meeting was about to happen, and you could watch it from your phone, right?
Yeah.
So I got out. I was the last guy off the water at whatever time you're supposed to be, 4:30.
3 o'clock.
Huh?
Or 1:30 on the last day.
No, Toyotas are like 4:30.
Okay, so 4:30, and then from then on, it's off limits until first cast of the morning.
Yeah, so I pull into the parking lot, like a lot of guys pull in the parking lot, get their stuff done, listen to the meeting, do whatever. And it's like 5 minutes before the meeting, and I'm driving out to get better service because of where we're at. And I pass a guy in a truck, and he like kind of stops me. And I was like, I rolled down. He didn't have a boat on. He didn't have a boat hooked up or nothing. And I rolled down the window, and I knew him. And I'm like, and he's in the tournament. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, nothing. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. And I'm in a marina. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? Like, why are you driving down here without your boat? Like, I already knew something. And he's kind of got like a grin on his face. And I'm like, are you really going to go are you going to go? I already knew. I'm like, you're going to go walk the bank? You know we can't go walk the bank. He didn't say it, but I already knew.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, I already got permission. I said, what do you mean? And he was like, well, I'm not on the water. And I was like, whoa, wait. So they had the meeting. I drove off. And like, as soon as the meeting's over with, I'm like calling the tournament director. And he was like, yeah. And then they canceled the day. And then everyone, of course, I made a big stink out of it because I'm like, you can't go walk the bank looking for fish.
And your theory as to why you can't go walk the bank looking to fish.
One, it was a rule. Well, one, it was a rule. Like, so a guy got DQ'd years ago in this event because he wouldn't walk the bank. Bassmasters had these rules. Like, it's a rule. Like, you can't go. You can't
describe what the rule though is. You can't locate fish
after tournament, like basically
during off limits.
So the only off limits in Toyotas is from when. That's the only time they're like
practice starts until practice ends.
Yes. And technically, he's not on the water on a boat. But I was like, hey, and one guy was like, oh, I put my boat in a marina stall, and I'm walking out to the marina stall, and I just happen to walk by one, and I'm like, yeah, but how come you're walking all of them? You know, so guys protested him. He got DQ'd. And so that's just always been a rule that we always knew. And he called the tournament director up, but he did it not in the meeting. So the meeting's going on, and I think the tournament director brought it up in the meeting. And I'm sure everyone's like, well, wait a minute, this guy's already doing it. No one's prepared to go do this. for the last 2 or 3 hours. I don't know.
So was it a free for all then? Like, could you walk them the next couple?
So then they canceled the next 2 days because of the wind was so bad. So every day we woke up and everyone said the same thing. Like, we really all have to go walk the bank now because everyone else is doing it. And we were all so pissed about having to go do this on our day. Like, it was like a free, like everyone was allowed to now. And so everyone did it. And it was just, and then I think they said, okay, that's never going to happen again. I'm like, yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if you remember you finished fourth in that event. That was shout out to my boy, Captain Rick, Rick.
Oh yeah.
One day derby. I remember he called me after that and he was like, dude, I wasn't on anything. And he's like, I had like 20 minutes left. I vividly remember this tournament now. And he rolled a spinner bait over a flat rock. And he said he saw this massive flash and he had like 10 minutes left to fish. I think he might've even only had 4 fish that day. And he just he just like little roll casted his spinner bait out and was like, I think one just flat and a 6-pounder just engulfed it. Came back and engulfed it. He ended up winning the tournament on one stretch.
It was on a bed, and I think he flipped in there. This is what he told me, but I could be wrong. But either way, he threw in there and caught the male and the female.
Yeah, and then he caught that big one just randomly.
Oh, I think that one was on the bed in there with it. Like it was.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think he had 3, and then that happened, and he went in there and I think caught the male and then caught the female after.
I had this all pulled up because I even if it takes me forever to find it, I'm going to find it again. And then don't ever update your computer. I updated my computer and now it wants to run. Okay. So if you go into the top 10 patterns, this was April 11th, 2022, a very salty Todd Castledine gives what at the surface appears to be a fantastic interview about how your day went, but a little bit of backstory on it now. This is one of the funniest interviews that you've ever done. So you said,
I have no idea.
First of all, they do say, they give you a little bit of They say there's no one who should be shocked by this statement from Castledine. He's one of the best at catching fish off beds. And it's not just ability to read fish, but also find them in sneaky places most won't look. He said Castledine got his day going on those sneaky bedding fish right near takeoff that other pros were shocked were there. He said, I knew one of the sneaky ones behind a rock that some high school kids said they couldn't get to bite, Castledine said. So I caught that one. Then another sneaky one besides. So there's your shot at the high school kids that you got into the confrontation with.
Listen, in the video, go ahead.
Then you said, then another sneaky one from the backside of some boat docks. Which I'm assuming you found walking, which was your shot at like, hey, you did find those in the boat?
No. So what was at takeoff, I went down this whole giant long stretch and there was 1 4-pounder on it. And I didn't even start on it because I was like, no one's going to find it. And so I went smallmouth fishing and stuff because I fished a little derby there the week before. I showed up Saturday and fished like by myself in this like tournament and said, man, I'm not even going to go like, they weren't even on bed. So I just went smallmouth fishing the whole time and caught like 12 or 13 pounds or whatever. Cause I smoked on them the day before. Anyways, so I found this one fish, no one's going to catch it. And I was last boat. So I was like, even if someone found it, I'm not going to get to start on it. So I was like, well, I might as well just go fishing for the first 45 minutes. Didn't catch anything, rolled up there. And there was like 7 boats in this, like 6 or 7 boats in this giant creek. And there were guys like going down the bank. And so like everyone was like in a line going down the bank. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how like everyone's facing the same direction? There was like 3 or 4 on one side and 3 on the other. And so I got in behind all of them, started way away and let everyone go through it all. And then when I went through, there was no one in front of me. I was going. And then a guy from across the creek starts driving with his 2 high school kids standing on the front deck,
trying to beat you to the damn over fish. There.
And I get off my trolling motor and I had to put my power poles down so I didn't hit them. And then they stopped right in front of me. Like I could have flipped on the fish.
He's like, this is my fish.
And I just sat there and I was like, I can't believe this just happened. But there's 2 high school kids. So I'm kind of in shock. Well, anyways, they fished for it for a while. I went around and left. I waited and watched, fished for like 30 minutes, watched them. They eventually left. I went back over there and caught it.
So that's why you said you were a little salty. So that's why you said, I knew of one sneaky one behind a rock that some high school kids said they couldn't get to bite. And then you just said, so I caught that one.
Yeah. So I caught it. Because like the guy was a pretty big, like
it wasn't the kid. It wasn't the kids going, hey, let's go cut off Todd Castledine. It was the dad. It was the dad going, oh, we're gonna get ours so I can get the high school fishing dad glory.
I found out it wasn't even a dad, and it wasn't even one of the dads. It was a friend of it, whatever. Mm-hmm. He was on it, like he got DQ'd for driving the boat with the high school kids up on the front deck. He got DQ'd for the language he used towards me, and then he had a platform on the back that he was standing on while they fit.
Oh, I remember this.
There was like 3 or 4
in 2022 because you freaking like talked about all of it, didn't you?
Yeah.
I remember this was like big for like weeks.
Yeah. So anyways, I caught that one, and like I said, I'm last boat, so I knew where all these fish were back in all these places. And so I was like, I'll be the last one to all of them. Like when you go to take someone, like if you're not first, you're last, right? I mean, it's literally it's a one-day event. It's not like I have multiple days to do this. So I drive all the way down south and roll in the back, and everyone's like leaving these areas. Like I'm passing people going. And there was a guy sitting there fishing around one, and I sat there in the boat for like 10 minutes, not fishing, just hanging out. And he looks at me, he's like, did you want to fish here? I'm like, man, take your time. Because I've learned to be real nice about that. I'm like, dude, do whatever you want to do. Like, I'll wait. And he was like, I'm not doing anything, and he got out of the way. And there was one that I knew that was kind of sneaky right there that like was hard to see. I caught it. And I had another one that was hard to find. I caught it. And then there was one that I could barely get my boat underneath the walkway and caught it. That one was on camera. So I don't know. I caught like 6 fish that day. And I had fun.
Let me ask you this. This is going to be like a total left-hand turn, Todd.
Yeah.
But you do the videos, you catch the fish, like everyone knows what you do, who you are. You do the educational stuff, you design baits. I don't know like how you got started in this game. Like I know that you're like 25 years in basically from like when you started dabbling in like BFLs and Toyota series, but like kind of how did you get into the whole, like what's your origin story back in the day? I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know how you got started in the game.
I lived in Houston. My mom and dad were separated. He lived on Lake Livingston. So I was going up there every weekend.
Like how old? Like teenager or?
Oh, no. Like 6, 7.
Oh, okay. So like young kids. So Lake Livingston.
Yeah, but all we did was white bass and catfish. So I would white bass and catfish off the bank. Okay. Or catfish off the bank. He had a pontoon boat. Him and like 2 other guys, like were all in. That's how you did it. Like no one owned a boat back in the day. You had to have like his like 2 business partners. They all had this pontoon boat. And
shared custody.
Yeah, 100%. And so we'd white bass fish and do all that. And then it was raining, and I'd crappie fish from the marina stalls.
Okay.
And it was pouring down rain one time, and this guy like had his bass boat in a marina stall, and I was over there. He was talking to me or whatever. I was in the 7th grade, and he was like, "Oh, you can go catch bass right now," because I was kind of asking about it. I was like, "I've never even caught a bass." He's like, "Well, here you got a rod and reel." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, he rigged up a Texas rig." He's like, "Go throw this auger tail worm off this culvert," and it was pouring down rain, and I'm like, and I just took it for like whatever he said. I was like, "Yes, sir." So I like run. I'm pouring down 7th grader, like just t-shirt on, and I stayed on this culvert for 30 minutes, and I catch 2 bass, and that was it. So like I started walking the bank, screw all that catfishing and stuff. I'm like, I just wanted to walk the bank and catch bass. I caught a 5-pounder the next day, and then I had to go to school. And then so like the next week, it's like, I want to go again. And I was playing a lot of sports then. So I did that all the way up until high school, just walking the bank. And then,
so still hadn't gotten in a bass boat, fished a tournament, nothing. You were just ate up with it.
Just, yeah. And then Mark Malone, who I messaged me the other day, just a guy fishing down he was a construction guy around there. He owned his own business and stuff. And he gave me a speed trap. And yeah, Lure Jensen 5-tire speed trap. And I took that. And
that man has caught a few bass in his day, if that's what he's giving. He has one to give you.
Yeah, smashed on that. This is like crazy stuff. Like the head. So one of the sales reps for Lure Jensen, Ken Seifert, had his office in Cold Spring. So I catch all these bass on it, but then I catch this like 30-something pound Opelousas catfish on it.
Wait, are you still on the bank or are you in his boat?
Oh, yeah, still in the bank. Oh, still in the bank.
So you've got like a handful of worms and crankbaits and you're still just walking. Like at this point, you haven't ever just like launched in the morning and gone out and bass fished out of the boat for the whole day.
What? No.
Okay.
No, I don't even know what that is.
Okay.
I've only seen this section of the lake. Other than, I mean, I white bass fish.
Yeah,
and my dad would try to like, with a pontoon boat with big motor, like get up there to where I could cast around. I did some of that at times, but I mean, we're talking 3 casts here, before.
Sorry, I derailed you. So you were about something crazy is about to happen.
Well, I mean, there's just these stories like this. So then anyways, Ken Seifert was like, that's awesome. Here's a couple more Lure Jensen baits. And that got into this whole thing where about every month I'd go in there and he'd give me a box of these baits. And I'd go try them out and catch fish on them and taking pictures. And that went on for a couple of years. I started fishing, I think 15 or 16, Mark Malone, the guy asked me to fish a tournament, same guy. I think I caught big bass, came in second, took a polygraph, right? So that was my first ever polygraph, was I think at 15 or 16. And which was kind of interesting and funny at the time. And then just kind of started doing that, fishing with him, eventually started fishing tournaments. I think fished with him for a couple of years. Eventually started fishing with my high school buddy around college time. And my dad went out there and we got a stealth boat, bass boat. I don't even know how he afforded it. I think he put it on a 40-year plan. And we started doing that. I did that for years in Livingston, Conroe, places like that. Went to SFA and when I started fishing, but I never fished Rayburn for like most of the years in college because I didn't have a boat. My dad kept the boat, and it wasn't until much later that I started fishing Rayburn. So that's kind of how it's like. But even at Rayburn, like I was always still, it was a white one with a black little S.
That's a 94 stealth right there.
Yeah. Ours was probably around that 96, 97.
So were you like, how do I word this? Were you good early on, or were you just eating up with it, or did you get in the boat with someone that was good? Because so like the biggest thing in bass fishing is it's a copycat deal, right? So like you do what everyone else does, but for some reason there has to be some point where you're like doing stuff totally different than everyone.
From the 7th grade till I was 15. So what is that? So from 15 or 16,
like a 5-year period, like 13.
There's a 5-year period I never fished with anyone. So like growing up, like everything I did was in the marina, and the marina had deep water, shallow water. So, but you got to realize, Ken Seifert gave me all those Lure Jensen baits. So it's like I had every single topwater he ever had, every crankbait, every spinnerbait, worming, Carolina rig. I did all that stuff from the bank. And I found some really good stuff. I'll tell you this too. In high school, they did a story about it. Ron Speed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Ron Speed called me up. Ron Speed knew Ken Seifert, and as a 15 or 16-year-old, he calls me up. I don't know who this guy is, and he was like, "Hey, man, I'm so and so, Ken Seifert's buddy." He said, "You're like one of the best fishermen on the lake," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fish from the bank." And he was like, well, we got this championship, Angler's Choice Championship. And I'm like, all right, cool. I was like, oh, I got it. And you got to realize you're going to laugh at me, but this sounds arrogant. But to a 15 or 16-year-old, it was like, this is all I knew, right? And I was like, oh, I got a place, you'll win it. Right? And it was like, okay. So I tell this story, and this has been the story I've told for 20 years. And I'll tell you the backstory behind this. So I was like, I got this place. Show up here in the morning time. You'll win it. It's a 2-day event. So day 1, they fish. They're in second place. And I'm like, okay, no big deal, right? Then I called them up. And I was like, oh, did you catch them there? He's like, no, we went somewhere else. And I was like, okay. So the next day it blew real bad. They couldn't go there. So they went to where I told them to. Well, I walked down to the marina because that's the only place I knew. I walk and I see him. And I was like, you got him? And he's real like, it's him and his son, Ron Speed Jr. And it's
so this is like OG Ron Speed and Ron Speed Jr.
Yeah.
Oh,
so it's
wow.
like,
Okay.
It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just a little skinny 15-year-old kid. And I walk down there and I'm like, you got him? And he's like, yeah. And he's like this. And I go, all right. And he's like, they're not laughing. They're not smiling. They're like, we're good. Now, I didn't know rules back then. So like, I was like, all right, cool. And I walked away. So we go to the tournament. They blew it out. It was already done at 8 o'clock. They won it. They knew they won it. So I'm sitting there, and me and my dad, we're all at the weigh-in, and these guys talked about me, calling me up, invited me up on stage with them when they got their trophies and everything. So there's a picture of me. Yeah, so like that's my thought of like what happened. Ron Speed Jr. on Facebook, like a couple years ago, tells the story from his point of view. It's so different than my point of view. And I was like, it was so funny. So he tells the story about his dad calling me up. All that's true. Everything that happens. And he gets off the phone and he's like, what do you think? He goes, worthless. He said, everything. It's because it's this 15-year-old kid saying, oh, I got this spot. You're going to win it. He said, there's nothing there. Don't even worry about it. So that's why they didn't even go fish any of it. And so they looked at it as like, from their point of view, some 15-year-old kids talking about, oh, they're going to win it off this spot, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, they ended up, only reason they went there because the wind blew and it was the only way to get protected. So then they called him and then everything else. So they ended up giving me, I take that back. Way before I got the Stealth, we had a 1976 Washita stick steering boat with a 40-horse Evinrude on it. I forgot about that. That's what I fished for the years out of. Okay. And then, so the Stealth didn't come until like well after high school. Well, anyways, we ended up, the trolling motor on it was a 40-year-old trolling motor. He ends up giving me a brand new Motor Guide trolling motor for that Washita boat, and then gave me and my dad a free trip to fish off Delta.
Oh, that's cool. You went? You went?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he's legendary. Like I think Ron Speed and Billy Chapman are the two that like put bass in those lakes.
Yeah. So like, but at the time when he called me, I didn't know who Ron Speed was. And then but like I've had some, when I talk about breaks, I mean, the fishing stuff is the fishing stuff. I don't consider me getting too many breaks in that, but like living next to in a town in Cold Spring and having Ken Seifert, a sales rep guy, giving me baits. And then all the way to Strike King now, to where I had Phil Marks, who the whole Strike King was in Kentucky, Tennessee area. And then Phil Marks living in Dallas and fishing tournaments around Texas with me. Because that's the only reason I got with Strike King is because of Phil Marks. Yeah. Like being around him and fishing against him for, the local stuff, regional stuff, and then me and him becoming friends. So, I mean, yeah, I consider the people I've met in just situations, those are the breaks I've gotten.
So when did you start doing the tournament stuff, like what you would say seriously? Because I mean, like there was a time where you were a regional dude before like regional dudes were cool, but you kind of had like career paths where you were like that really good regional dude. And then you were like, hey, you were a professional fisherman, FLW tour, fishing everything, 15 major tournaments a year, plus all the team stuff.
2006, my dad passed away. And then me and my roommate won our first big tournament on Rayburn. We had like 35 pounds in a bass and bucks. And that was the spring that I had such a good spring that I decided not to go back to school. Like I was always taking one semester on, one semester off. And I was like, man, I'm going to try this whole fishing thing for a full year because I'd make enough money and then go back to school for a semester and kept on in summer school and kept on trying to do that. So I was 12 hours short of graduating. So I'm still 12 hours short from college.
What school?
SFA. And so
Stephen F. Austin, which like pumps out fishermen.
Yeah, but no one fished college back in there in those days, right? And so
wait, so what years were you in college?
Oh, well, a long time. Kind of depends on how
I mean, technically, I went to college for like 6-7 years if you take JUCO
longer
in it, but I was like at OU from 05 to 08.
So 97 is when I graduated, and like I said, I went for 2 years straight, and then I was working a bunch, and I started going almost from there on. Like,
what were you doing?
Semester off, huh?
What were you doing? Like working?
I was delivering pizzas and stuff, trying to go to college and trying to fish on weekends for years.
Really?
For years.
So you were literally working so you could spend 100% of that paycheck to get on the water to have a shot to win.
We were winning a bunch.
Okay. So you were making more fishing than you were delivering pizzas.
Oh, big time. But the problem was I had at the bills for a boat. I mean, I had motors rebuilt. I had go win $2,000 in a tournament and go spend $6,000 on a motor rebuild
But how are you winning is my question. Like, you've always just been, so like for everyone, I would say 99%, like me included, you're always just, it's Todd Castledine. He does stuff differently. He blasts big bags. He catches fish. But like, what was it? Like there's, you make it sound like, we just jumped in and started winning, but like.
Kind of did.
Yeah,
I told you
that's not normal.
Well, but I fished for so long without tournaments. So like, I fished every single day. So we were on Livingston. I knew how to catch them on Livingston. So we were winning all the tournaments on Livingston, like a bunch of them. And so we were winning a bunch of that stuff. I learned how to sight fish, went over to Conroe in the springtime. We won a boat on Conroe. Flipping a big bass tournament, flipping the bulkhead during the spawn. I caught like a 10-pounder. We were just, like I said, I mean, it makes me mad. Well, it doesn't make me mad, but like my kids play sports and I'm like, hey, look, man, y'all think an hour or two of practice is a long time. I was like, I would wake up every morning at 6 a.m. or whatever in middle school and high school and walk. Or I would either walk, my dad would drop me off, no phones, no nothing. I would sit all day long down there, never eat. There was a payphone down there. My dad was so cheap, he would give me a dime, I would get on the payphone and put the dime in, call his number, let it ring twice, and hang up. And then he would call that number back. I mean, like,
that's smart.
And so then I'd answer and I'm like, hey, come get me whatever. So I'd spend like 12 hours a day in this marina every day, every weekend since in the 7th grade, just about.
So if I was to say your two strengths, it would be marina fishing and sight fishing.
Yeah, because I didn't even know what sight fishing was when I was younger, because I just remember no one told me anything. So like, I just remembered looking back going, hey, these fish are on the bank. And I wasn't telling anyone this. I was like, look at these dumb fish. They won't leave. And so I started catching them, but I did not know that those were like spawning fish back then. Like, because like I said, I was just me down there. My dad fished, but he never bass fished.
Mm-hmm. So by the time you got to the tournament and all that, you had looked at hundreds of fish for thousands of hours and knew how they would respond because you stood on the bank and stared at the suckers until you figured out how to get them to bite.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was. Hey, they're not going to leave. This is great. I'm just going to keep throwing at them. So I don't know. I mean, I just fished a bunch, and so we just did it. I always say I never got in the boat. The first person I ever got in the boat with ever in my entire life was Russell Cecil when I was 30 years old that had ever won a tournament. Like,
how'd you meet him?
All the other guys were like high school buddies or like college buddies that I fished with. There was no one I ever got in the boat with that like had won a tournament before I had met him. And so, that's where me and Russell decided, like me and Russell, we just came back from like a 4-day hunting trip. But like we were talking about that, like when we met and like how all that went down. But
how'd you meet him? Like, I mean, was that like a deal where literally you just saw each other at tournaments?
So you asked earlier, like I did all that stuff. And then around 2007 or 8, I started trying to like travel around. I think I made a top 10 in a Toyota. Russell won it. I think it was like 2007 or something, 2008. I made it my first ever top 10. 2009, I qualified for the elites. Out of I had that old Skeeter boat. It was like a 10 or 12-year-old boat that was like breaking down on me all the time. But I was fishing with my buddy Brent in team tournaments, and he had a new Ranger. And so like we fished. Everyone's like, man, you really do good in team tournaments, but you don't really do good in individual stuff. I'm like, yeah, we don't ever break down. I said, people have no clue how much I've ever broke down in tournaments. I could go. You don't have a long enough podcast.
I remember you just posted that video where you were like, I don't catch him in West Texas. We were leading this one till I broke down. We were leading this one till I broke down. We were leading this one till we broke down. That was all in a
1.5 year span too. And those were all new boats. Those were nothing like the old stuff.
Okay. So back to Cecil, because Russell Cecil, Todd Castledine, legendary in that East Texas, the team tournament stuff. Like everyone knows Cecil catches them, you catch them. Like, I mean, that's a pretty big team pairing for multiple decades.
So 2009, I qualified for the elites. Don't go out of that old boat. I broke down in 2 of those events. 2010, me and my buddy.
Side note, why didn't you go? You're trying to make this work full time. You make the Bassmaster Elite Series. I mean, the peak then. I mean, the Bassmaster Elite Series in 8 and 9. I mean, that's KVD, that's King Kong, that's Reese, that's Iconelli, that's Gerald Swindle. I mean, you just gave me your whole life story. Like, isn't that everything you'd been working towards?
So I have no money. Springtime rolls around in Toledo. I come in 3rd place in the Open. That is where my life changed, was that Open, and it had nothing to do with fishing. It all had to do with like that's what happened. That like, man, anyone who wants to know why I believe in the Lord, it was that event. It had nothing to do with coming in 3rd place. It was everything leading up to that. The day before was the entire event was just really weird and interesting and all kinds of stuff. And I'll go into it one day, but get back on track with that event. The next event. And by the way, I never could go over 45 miles an hour in that event because my boat like puttered the whole way. So I had to get it fixed right after that as well. Went to Rayburn, came in 5th. So I'm leading the points, and then go to Chaffley Basin. My boat breaks down. I had to borrow my high school buddy's boat to go fish that event. So they want me to go fish, and Hallman's right there. You know, I'm friends with Hallman at the time because I stayed with Hallman at Chaffley Basin. And he's like, all right, so you got an 8-year-old truck, a 12-year-old boat that can't even make it through a 3-tournament season, and you have money, but all you're doing is spending money on those. He's like, dude. So he was the only one that told me not to go, which was the smartest decision ever. Because at the time, that was in October, and I had to have all my money situated within a month. And I always try to tell people, no one called asking about whether or not you're gonna, if you're gonna like get money. Like no one's calling you to like, oh, you're gonna fish the elites. Here's a bunch of money for you. I had basically no sponsors, no nothing. So I didn't go. Smart decision, very smart. Okay. The next year, me and Brent start off the season. By March, we win a legend, and it was I think we'd won a couple boats up to that point, but it was the biggest boat. It was a 21-foot legend, so I kept it. Got it in after in June. And then did really good. And then that started the next year, 2000. So if you look at my tournament results for FLW, for MLF, if you look at the Toyotas, you'll see you'll see Anglers of the Year, right? And you'll see 50th, 60th, 40th, all from 2006 or 7, 8, 9, 10, or something like that.
Yep,
right. So if you go down
57th, 22nd, and then all of a sudden it just goes freaking.
Okay. So, and so I've always been big on this, and this is why I'm big about the money deal. 2011 is the first time I ever had a brand new boat.
2nd, 1st, 14th, and 7th, you blew the points away. You had 3 top 10s, and you made $43,000, and that's in the Toyotas.
Yeah, but look, the ones before that, I had an old boat. So everyone talks about, all these guys, there's always guys that have a lot of money and they're like, oh, the boat doesn't matter. Guys always make these comments, and I'm like, that's the biggest. Yes, if you're out there fishing for fun, just hanging around, and it's a nice, beautiful day, the boat doesn't catch a fish. But when you can't drive to these places, if you can't, like most of the tournaments, the wind blew, and back then they didn't cancel those days. And I'm like, oh, I can't drive to where I found them because I'm going to.
Oh yeah, I remember they were always sinking boats in Toyotas. Right. They'd take them off in like 9-footers on Falcon and be like, part of the game, boys.
That was one of them. And so I set around takeoff, and I did bad in that event. And all those events were like that. And because everyone was like, I was like, I'm not going to go win 10 grand just to spend it. I have to have my boat for next weekend to go fish another tournament.
Yep.
So yeah, everyone's like, oh, did you figure out how to fish? I'm like, no, we won a boat in 2010.
Weren't you sponsored by Legend at one point?
After I won the boat.
That's what I wondered. I wondered if winning the Legend led to the Legend sponsorship then.
Yeah. And so 2011 is when everything kicked off. I'm like, oh, now I have a brand new boat. I can practice and fish like I want to. And then the first tournament of the year was Choke Canyon. I stayed with my buddy Kelly Owens, who I'd met on the road at Amstead. So we're like, hey, me and him room together. He won the event on Choke Canyon. Russell came in second. Russell drew my fishing partner, Brent, who was like my best man at my wedding, who I won the boat with. So me and him had fished for like 8 or 9 years together. He drew him on day one. So Russell, you just got to know Russell. Russell's probably the smartest guy I know. Like seriously, like really intelligent guy. But we always make a joke that I'm like, who's that guy? He's like, you don't know that guy? And he'll start telling me things about this guy. And he's always like, yeah, and his dad owns like 42 acres up in North Texas. And I'm like, what? It's always like, he always knows something. So he asked Brent, he was like, so what's the deal with Todd? Because I grew up in Cold Spring. Russell lives in New Waverly, Willis area, which is only like 25 minutes from me. But we never spoke. We never talked. So he asked Brent, he's like, so what's this Todd? Like, what's the deal with Todd? Like, why isn't he fishing, blah, 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 all this stuff? And Brent's like, oh, he told him the story. So anyways, we didn't stay with each other on Rayburn, but Toledo, me, him, Kelly, Brent, there was like James Caldemeyer. There was like 7 of us that all stayed together at Toledo.
What's Kelly's last name?
Owens.
Okay. Yeah, no, I met him. Oh, dude, that dude is freaking hoot.
Yeah. So
character.
So I'm leading on Toledo. Russell's in the top 10. Caldermeyer's in the top 10. Brent's in like second or third in the Coinger. And so I go out there, and that's one of the first event. I'm leading on the final day. I break down. I get to the river channel. I break down. Compressor goes out. They all stop. Everyone except one guy stops. And then Russell tows me back in. I get Andy Gaia's boat. He had that Tire Max wrap boat, not charged, no gas in it. I put 2 rods in the boat, both sight fishing stuff, with one little tackle box, and then rolled out there, won that event. And then we stayed together at Texoma. He was leading Angler of the Year. Russell was actually going into that event. I was leading after day 2, came in second, won Angler of the Year, and the TXTTs were coming out in 2012. And me and him just looked at each other like, yeah, we were like, hey, we fish against each other. Why don't we just team up for this? It's going to travel around Texas. And then we won Angler of the Year that year in that one. We broke down in the final championship on that one too, leading that event. We got some. You want to talk about when I get nervous? I only get nervous or want to throw up. Driving back, having a bag, knowing I'm probably might win a tournament is the most nervous you'll ever see me. Because, man, dude, I'm just telling you, I've broke down in a lot of events.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's not because of the winning or anything. It's I have done what I need to do. Yeah. Now the results are out of my hand. I need to make sure I get back and weigh these fish in without something crazy happening.
So here's the thing about tournaments is that, like, most people don't hear the stories behind tournaments. And when you hear stories, good and bad, right? You find out how guys catch them or how they didn't. Like the Rick Harris one's pretty cool, right? Like it's a cool cool story to hear.
Yeah, like I remember him calling me. He'd be like, "You will not believe how this went down." Like he's like, winning the tournament never even crossed my mind. He's like, I was just happy to salvage it for the points, and I went from, holy cow, I didn't zero, to, what do you mean I'm leading after you win?
Right. And so then you hear about, and then I hear the other stories where you hear about, like, some coiners like, yeah, man, my guy went on anything, and I told him to go over here, and like we ended up catching him. I'm like, oh, so that guy didn't really even find him, whatever. Mm-hmm. But when you just look at results, all you see is just on pen and paper. So like even like the first one that happened to me I won the Toledo Bend one, but no one knows me at 8 o'clock in the morning running around knocking on Andy Guy's door, like knocking on people's door who are sleeping, trying to find a boat to go get in. And him going, dude, I didn't charge my batteries. You have none of your waypoints, Todd. I said, I don't need those. I said, I know where everything's at. He said, I don't even know if there's enough gas in there. And I'm like, I don't care, dude. I'll figure it out. I drive down there. I look down. The thing's almost on empty. I stopped in at Alpine Marina, begged the guy he hadn't even opened yet. He's like, hey, look, man, we don't start selling gas till like the summer. I have to keep 50 gallons of gas in my tank and I'm like, dude, I'll just take like 5 gallons. And so like, this is all before I ever make my first cast, and it's 10:30:11, and I'm leading my first ever Toyota. So we win that one. And then the other ones were at Amstead, where I'm leading by like 7 pounds. This is the next year, the first event. And then at like 10 o'clock, I break down on the Mexico side in 5-footers and stand on the trolling motor for 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours in 5-footers, trying not to hit
these
the
are
bank.
AGMs. This is way before lithiums, folks.
Yeah. And I'm like calling the tournament director, and I'm like, and so, Border Patrol can't come across the border to get you.
Yeah, you got to get to America or find someone to get you to America.
They're like, whatever you do, don't get on the bank. I'm like, I know. And Austin Terry, this is the wild thing. Austin Terry, this is in not Zorro, the other one, Burrow. Is it Burrow? Something like that. Anyways,
sounds right.
Austin Terry happened to draw Brent, my fishing partner, in the tournament.
It's up the Rio Grande on the left.
It's up the Rio on the left. Yeah. Burrow. Something.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So they happen to be driving in it, and I'm like, oh, that's. So you almost have no one has self-service really. So I wave them down, and they're like, what do you want us to do? I'm like, just drag me over there to that behind that bank where it's calm and let me look around. So they towed me over there, and then I power pulled down and it's the TPS. I don't really know all this. The TPS throttle thing. It's whatever it is. I found out later. Yeah, what I have, 17 pounds? Dude,
you went 21, 24, 17.
Dude, that 17 I'm pretty proud of. I caught that in like 3 hours. Mm-hmm. So they ended up, there was 2 screws that came out of that thing. I found them at the bottom of the casing of the whole motor.
Oh, I remember that was a thing for the year for all those guys had it freaking happening.
They what?
All those guys had it happening that year.
Well, I had 2 screwdrivers, like trying to pick up, two little bolts. Like, got it put back on, and it cranked right on up, and I went out there and finished 17. But my point is back then, if you look at that, no one knows that I broke down for 3 or 4 hours and all that happened. They just see, oh, you came in second place, you didn't close it, in my head. So it's like, well, yeah, I think give me another hour or two. I think it's freaking. I was catching them pretty good, but not too happy.
So, I have a lot like of those. I said, if I ask you a question that you don't want to go into, just be like, that I'll save that for another time. But like your first major bait sponsor, like you were synonymous with that Strike Pro brand. Like, I don't think anybody even knew it existed, except like you would always see that goofy logo on your jersey. Yeah. And there were a couple baits that you threw on that. Was that like your first kind of major hard bait sponsor then? I mean, outside of the lure headset stuff that happened, was that like the first one that like paid you money to have it in, where you did some bait design?
No bait design. A buddy of mine I fished tournaments with named Justin. he was from down on the coast, and he had a buddy named Billy, and Billy was a saltwater guide, saltwater tournament fisherman, whatever. And Billy, he's like, I got this guy, this bait company, blah, blah, blah. And it took me forever to get a hold of Billy. One of those deals, right? I called Billy up for like 2 months. He finally calls me back. I'm like, yeah, I finally answered it. I don't know who this guy is. So they finally get with me, and I get with Strike Pro and all that. And me and Billy to this day are super good friends. We fished tournaments together. We won a bass champs, me and Billy. So anyways, I ended up getting with them, and it wasn't the best. So it worked out really good. So I got to explain this real quick because I don't want to lead anyone astray.
Yeah.
Strike Pro, I didn't understand a lot of the business. So there was Strike Pro overseas, which I didn't really know about, but then there was Strike Pro in America. And the people that ran Strike Pro in America, I'm not fond of. Okay. And so, and I would say most businesses and people that have dealt with them weren't very fond of them for not paying bills as well, right? That whole story. But it was the best and worst thing that ever happened to me. I learned a lot about the business. I learned a lot about how, in a good and bad way, to trust people and not to trust people. Like there are not great people, right? You will meet not very trustworthy people in the industry. But on the flip side, I got to work with baits that no one in the country ever got to see. I got to,
because they had weird stuff.
Weird people have no idea, and it was mainly not for bass. And so I took all those things because I didn't care, and I was like, and so I just went out every day with new baits. And it was funny because I was like, just like the Lure Jensen deal, like that's so like everyone's like, why do you fish differently? Well, man, I had weird opportunities that probably no one else in the country had, just by random meetings of people, right? And so one of those was the Bubba. Yeah.
Visor.
What a loser.
So the Bubba, I guess, like, is if you were to have like a legacy bait, like when you're old and you're like, hey, that's probably what you're the most proud of.
Well, so, and it was just this bait. I'll never forget. It was a bait. So they had, I can't explain this enough, boxes in a warehouse with hundreds and hundreds of baits in every box. Right. And so I would just dig through these boxes constantly and just take them, hundreds of baits. And I would take them, and new shipments would come in of just random stuff. Dude, I still have most of them. One of them was one Bubba, the only one I ever saw in a box. And I took it. Well, so I had it for a year. I threw it one time. I'll never forget. I threw it on Lake Knack, looked at it and go, what am I going to do with that stupid thing? Made 1 or 2 casts with it, put it up, never used it again. Billy and Andrew Upshaw, this was like a year later, came down to Rayburn. We all met. We all brought a bunch of stuff, like Strike Pro stuff, right?
Yep.
And we went rattle trap fishing, and I threw the Bubba. And the first area we got to, we went around in like a circle. I caught like 12 fish. They all caught like 1 or 2.
That's right? The OG right there.
That's OG. And we caught 1 or 2. They caught 1 or 2. I caught like 6 or 8. They all caught like 2-pounders. Mine were all like 2.5s. Like, big deal. We go to another area. Same thing. We go down the bank, and I'm figuring out how to throw this thing. And I'm telling them, like, hey, man, I'll never forget this. I'm like, hey, it doesn't work like a trap. But if I do this, I think I'm going to catch him. And I'm doing this, and I catch a 6-pounder. And like light bulb clicking, everything goes off, right? Now, mind you, it's like a dead, sunny, dead calm, cold, not a rattle trap day. And I catch that one. We go around, and my next one I catch is an 8-pounder. I don't have the 8-pounder in the boat. Billy's calling the factory, telling him to ship like 100 of them overnight them. So we don't tell a soul. It does all this thing. And so I had that bait that was probably 2000 and I don't even know. So I had it for 10 years. A couple co-anglers would find out about it and stuff like that. And the word got around. but they were still so hard to find.
And I think it was also hard to throw because it's not just a cast and wind it in like a rattle trap.
It is, but like, dude, I think back then the problem was, when I say the problem, you're not going to erase 25 years of trap fishing on Rayburn.
Yeah.
And so guys are like, not look, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're like, oh, that's cute. I'm going to stick to my half ounce Bill Lewis here.
That's like someone going out there going to Grand with the chatterbait at first and going, hey, this thing's better than a spinnerbait. How many people would look at you at Grand back in the day and go, yeah, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I was in Illinois when the chatterbait came out, but it was the same thing there. Like I remember, I was a co-angler.
But it came out on a national level. It wouldn't be some kid. I guess I'm not a kid, but it wouldn't be some guy fishing regionally going, hey man, this like looking at Jason Christie going, this chatterbait's better than a spinnerbait, and everyone's like, yeah, good luck. And then you go out there and make a top 10 with it, and everyone's like, yeah, but the spinnerbait just. The other 9 out of the top 10 all through a spinnerbait.
Yeah,
right? Like, it's hard to compare when only one guy's throwing it. And so, but you couldn't get them. They didn't know the right colors, all that stuff. So I don't know. It just ended up.
Okay, one more side note. They made one that had like that weird bug looking with the hump on the top of it.
Yeah, that was the first. That was a hunchback wake bait. That thing, you threw that thing. It didn't matter. You just threw that thing and they caught him. It still wasn't.
I had one of those that I broke. I'll tell you who gave it to me. Cliff Crochet gave it to me.
Yeah, because how do you think Cliff Crochet got it?
From you.
Yeah. So Cliff Crochet, so me and Cliff both made the elites the same year.
Yeah, and he went.
And they're coming back to Toledo Bend, and I gave him one because they're fishing Toledo. And then he ends up catching an 8-pounder on camera with it.
Yeah, that thing is.
Yeah, so
it's pretty strong bait.
There's been some of those Bubbas and hunch, like some of that's been. There's a couple elite guys that had that stuff before anyone else ever knew about it, and they've never said a word.
Okay, I want to keep this somewhat linear because I feel like I've got like a better picture, but just with your personality, things tend to go when it comes to talking about. So we're gonna keep it on. So you've got the Russell Cecil connection. You've turned on the Elite Series. You're fishing it. You've worked with companies. Now, this is just kind of a truncated version because I want to bring it back to like where you are today in there. But somewhere along that line, 15, 16, 17, you decide to go fish the FLW tour or the pro circuit or whatever you want to call it, like the full-time, the national trail on that, which up until then, regional team tournaments, BFLs, Toyotas and stuff. And you only did it for a handful of years, for a couple years. But what was your decision? I mean, 5, 6. Yeah. I mean, you'd have been like married, just starting a family and stuff at that time. And that's when you decide like, hey, let's go fish the national trail. Or what played into that decision?
So Russell's name within the industry is pretty solid.
Yeah.
And he was like head sales rep for his company. So he owns his own company. His company was the number one company of Costa for the sales rep stuff. For at the time, Gil. I can for Sunline, for a lot of stuff that you're involved, like that whole Valster, like a lot of the Valster stuff, a lot of that different things. He was just well respected with all that stuff. Very, very in good standings with Ranger and Evinrude at the time, all that stuff. Because he won like 3 Toyotas, some Triple T championships. I mean,
he's a badass fisherman.
Yeah. So
you just talk more than him. So.
Yeah, well, he doesn't do any of this stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
He talks a lot, just not
like publicly.
This. Yeah. So, it's nonstop conversation with him when it's me and him fishing. So, he ends up he doesn't need this, right? He's got his own company to worry about. He don't care about this. He ends up with Costa. Melinda's there, and they're getting involved. She's getting everyone involved with MLF at the time, or FLW. Yeah. Costa's going to bring along 3 boats, 3 sponsorship spots. And Russell was going to be one, and I was going to be one as well. And so that's when I only did it because it made sense. Like the money made sense. Because I'm like, okay, I'll make
some a FLW team deal, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And because I would never have spent my own money, because I'm like, it doesn't make, like, I always used to, and I tell everyone to go do this. Go look at the top 10. It might look different now, but back then I would go look at the top 10. They would have the top 10 Angler of the Years, right?
Yep.
And I would look at, like, I don't want to, it's not, David Dudley was on there one time and he was like third in Angler of the Year. Okay. And he won $78,000 that year. And I was going, well, shoot, it's $30,000 minimum right now to fish it at the time. Or it might have been 35 or 38.
Yeah,
and I'm like, all right, so now he's down to 48. Let's just say it's 2,000 to 3,000 for every tournament. Just go minimum 2, right? And that's like 6, and I'm doing the math. I'm like, all right, now we're up to like 50. And he made 28. He's third best fisherman out of 160 guys.
Yeah.
And he netted minimum 25, 30 grand. And I'm like, I'd be lucky if I came in third. And I was like, and I'm sitting here going, well, I made, let's see, I'm looking at what I made and I'm going, I made well over 78,000 last year. And my expenses were a third, maybe a quarter of that. And I didn't have to travel around the country. And I was like, I don't get it. Now the guys who won an event, their money would be over 100 grand, right? But I'm like, I'm never going to sit there and imagine, Matt, basing your entire livelihood on you winning an event, a major event, right? And so we did it for 2 years. Dude, I fished that in Toyotas, made a bunch of money because it was paid for, no doubt. And then when MLF bought FLW, that whole thing went down. Costa pulled out because they didn't like the direction it was going. And I'm sitting there going, and I had another year on my contract and there was really nothing we could do about it. So we walked away because I'm like, I didn't like the direction at the time it was going. And then Costa pulled out.
Yeah, because it went from FLW to MLF on November 1st, 2019, which was the day after the Toyota series ended that Andrew won.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Y'all know about all that.
Yeah.
So listen, I always say it was the best thing that ever happened. Yeah. Maybe if I'd have stayed on with MLF, I'd have won 7 events and whatever. Maybe so. I don't know if I look at it that I never look at stuff that way. I looked at it as when I went to go fish the Opens the next year, I did not mean to do this. I'm not smart enough to figure this out. It just happened the same way. And when me and Andrew and Hallman and we roomed with Scott and that last year of FLW, they made us have cameras. So look, I have a camera. Look, see the camera on right there?
Yeah, right here.
So we didn't have that the first year. We had that on year 2, and I hated that thing for the first because I was like, "This is who ever wants to like film themselves fishing?" And then I started doing that, and then the whole YouTube thing, not on purpose, and then all of a sudden it showed me that I didn't need Bass or MLF.
You didn't need the organization.
And once I figured that out, and I'm not under their. I don't have to follow what they make me do. I'm not dependent on them. And it's not for everyone, but man, I'll put it to you this way. I talked to a lot of those elite guys, and I don't know, maybe you do too, but it sure does seem like I'm happier than those guys. Like those guys seem to be a lot more.
I think that's just personal. I think there's a lot of Elite Series guys that are happy. I think a lot of the guys that aren't happy, you could have them living in Narnia and they'd find something to bitch.
Dude, but I like what I do. Like,
okay, we missed a major point though.
Yeah.
So we had
to talk about anything on your thumbnail, by the way.
Yeah, I don't care. Well, this was way more interesting. And have you done this? Have you done is this like something that's out there that exists like as a whole? Like, okay, like people
bits and pieces.
Okay, but not as like a whole.
No, there's always stuff that I never. Yeah, there's stuff I don't. They're probably not putting it all together at times.
So, I'm talking. The Strike King thing came in sometime after Strike Pro, and then there was another company that was in there. And then how did the Strike, wasn't there another company in there for a couple years? Or went Strike Pro straight to Strike King?
Well, I went with Strike Pro for a while. I mean, I was with like Kicker Fish or something.
Okay.
But yeah.
You never did the Sixth Sense thing?
Not like almost,
not officially.
Almost.
Okay. Because I knew there was a couple years there where there was like a Sixth Sense.
Less than a year.
Okay.
And Casey was struggling, not struggling. He was just going through
Casey's
a lot.
Owner, creator.
Yeah. And he was
OG, like this dude was like hand painting blanks and like showing up to events by himself. Like I remember in 2012 at the Bassmaster Classic, I was just looking for things to buy, and he had a little itty bitty square booth. Had no idea who it was, and he found out I was from Oklahoma, and he's like, "Oh, the Bassmaster Classic is there next year. Like, what are some colors that are good for Oklahoma so I can like paint them and bring them to the?" And I still have an OG. I have 2 spoons that I bought off of directly from Casey in a 5x5 square at the 2012 Classic.
Oh, the first time I met him, remember he's from SFA. So the first time I met him,
he's your neck of the woods.
My buddy Daryl knew him, and he was like, "Hey, we're gonna go somewhere." We went to some house like upstairs, and it was dark up there, you know. And he's like painting stuff upstairs and stuff. Like I met him then.
Okay, so how did the Strike King thing start, and then how do you go from being a regional guy to designing a lot of stuff for Strike King?
So I stay very like, if you'd be surprised, you know how like y'all are always know what's going on with the elites and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I have no idea ever, because I'm like, so
half of the time I think you're pretending about that, but there
I really don't.
You genuinely don't know. You don't. Yeah.
I don't like, because I fish so I was fishing 45 tournaments a year. So I never watched an elite event for probably 10 years. I was just had my head down fishing tournaments every weekend, practicing stuff like that. And so I'm doing all that. I didn't know Russell knows people. He's always bringing people up. And I'm like, don't know them. He's like, dude, we fished against them for like 9. I'm like, don't know him. Sorry. Phil Marks. I never knew Phil Marks beforehand. Never heard of him. Right. Didn't know much about, there's some Strike King stuff that's pretty funny from back in the day. I'll get into it later. How I met John Barnes when I was like a little kid dove hunting one time, like the connection thing in Wichita Falls, like wild. So anyways, Phil Marks comes back and he's like fishing, and I'm like, who's that guy, Russell? He's like, seriously? Well, Phil Marks used to room with Clark Wendlandt, like back in college and stuff, and fish, you know, and Russell and Clark have always been really good friends. Clark stayed at our place. I know Clark, done a couple TV shows with him. And then Phil and Russell, through the sales rep game, always knew each other really well. So Phil's back, and Russell's like, oh, that's the Strike King, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know, whatever. And he's like, oh, you used to catch him back in the day. I'm like, all right, you know, old guy. That's in my head. I was like, old guy. They don't, you know, I'm sure that's what they think about me now. It's old guy. He don't know. So anyways, Phil like catches him, starts catching him a little bit in some events. And I'm like, dang, man. All right. I honestly can't remember how it happened. But eventually, I just remember this. We were driving to like Amstead or Falcon, like a West Texas event. So we had a long drive. And at this point in time, I had Phil's number. So we're calling. And he used to always fish with Tim Renault, and I knew Tim Renault really well. They were team partners. Well, anyways, a white bread. So we're sitting there, and that's his nickname, White Bread. That's what Hackney called him that. Yeah. So anyways, we're sitting there, and like we get to talking on the phone. Well, I was somewhat smart about how to like. I knew how to talk in a certain way that I'm like, I'm going to let Phil know I know what I'm talking about, but I'm never going to give him anything, right? I'm not going to give away what I know, but I'm going to let him know that I know. And so we would talk for hours. And he calls me up one day, because I was always talking about these baits, right? Like, so I would be talking about the Bubba, but would never bring up the Bubba. I would be talking about all these baits and these things and been like, hey man, you know, like, you're not going to just get it from me talking to me on the phone. Now, I didn't have some like genius plan. That was just my personality of like, dude, there was zero reason for me to give away anything at this point.
Yeah.
I already learned that. I'm like, man, why? Guys wanted to sponsor me. They're like, hey, we can give you free baits and stuff. And I'm like, dude, or like, we'll give you $5,000 a year. Now, $5,000 a year was a lot for me. However, I was going, I can make that on a weekend in a tournament doing good, and I don't have to tell anyone anything. So I was like, why would I give up that information? Like, that information is providing money for me for years. $5,000 isn't worth it enough. So me and Phil finally, like, he's like, hey, come on the boat with me. Like, let's talk about this stuff. So I did this, right? So me and Phil, now this I remember the entire day. Me and Phil are on the water all day long. And I'm talking about certain baits and this and that. There was a bait that I had drawn up for years, like 7 years. I had the pop and perch because I was a big time frog fisherman. And I was like, this frog stuff, it cracks me up because I'm like, we just knew a lot about frog fishing. And I'm like, frog fishing isn't really frog fishing, it's brim fishing. Like, that's really what it is. And that's 99% of the times you catch a fish, it's because of brim and shad, not frogs. So I was like, man, I wanted to make this like perch looking style, brim style bait. And every year I'd tell Russell, hey, when you walk around ICAST, like, let me know if you see something like this. So every year Russell would call me back. He's like, didn't see anything. So I had this envision, right? I drew it out for Strike Pro back in the day for Strike Pro. I still have the drawings for Strike Pro. So we're on the boat, end of the day style stuff. And Phil brings up this like frog stuff. And I'm talking to him about it. And he's like, yeah, we're building this bait right now. I'll never forget it, Matt. Dude, Matt, I swear to you, it still hurts me to this day. He's like, yeah, we got this bait we're designing, and it's kind of like a brim. And dude, Matt, my stomach, dude, I swear to you, I'm like, it hurt. It went so, I still remember, dude, it just tightened up. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I just sat there like stunned, and Phil's just talking. And I'm not even listening anymore. I'm just like, crap, there goes my idea. And then and I don't know if anyone, you got to know Phil. Phil's one of the top 3 most intimidating people I've ever met in my life. Just by the way, he's been around the best fishermen in the world, and he don't care about none of them. Like, great friends with Hackney, Zona, like Evan, but he will tell all of them to their face what's up.
Well, one of the things that made him unique is the fact that he was senior VP of sales and could outfish the majority of the pro staff.
Russell told me this. He said, Todd, I'm going to tell you how good he is. When he goes and meets with Walmart, I'm like, okay, he goes by himself. And I'm like, well, he goes, Todd, he doesn't go in there with nobody else but him. And they're like, no, like, he takes on all of Walmart, and not in a bad way, just like, he's just not scared about it. So, and Phil talks and I'm, he's a pretty big guy too. And so we're sitting there, and he says, yeah, we're having problems with it. And my big dumb mouth blurts out to him, that's because you built it all wrong. And the look he turned around and gave me, and I was like, oh, that was probably out of line. And I'm not going to repeat what he said to me, but a few choice words, and we're friends. And he goes, but the way he said it, how the heck do you know how it's built? You've never seen blah, blah, blah. And I just went all in, and I was like, well, I bet you built it this way, and you shouldn't have. You need to build it this way. And dude, I was right. That's how he built it, right? And that's why they had problems. I said, dude, I already had it. I already knew the design in my head. So I was like, well, you needed to build it like this because of this, this, and this. And he looked at me and he goes, you want it? Now that I had no idea what that meant. I'll never forget, like, the entire conversation is etched in my, he's like, do you want it? And I go, I don't know what that means. And he goes, do you want it? you wanted to, you want to design it? And I go, yeah. And I was like, and he goes, it's yours. And I still was like sitting here going, I don't even know what that, I'm not even with Strike King. I'm not even like a part of anything. I don't even know what that. So we get done. I ended up talking to, obviously, and next thing you know, for the next couple of weeks, we started building this thing. And
So did you have a contract at this point, or was it just verbal with Phil?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about the Strike Pro thing, and all the bad stuff that I had learned over the years crept in a
because that ended up messy.
Well, so remember I said it's good and bad. Good was I'm glad I went through it. The bad was it put a bad taste in my mouth. So I went with that into the Strike King thing a little bit of going, hey, dude, I've gotten screwed over like this before, and I'm just supposed to like shake your hand and say, okay. And he made a comment to me that once he made this one comment, I was like, we're good. He goes, Todd, I don't care how much we pay you in royalties. He said, if we're paying you a bunch of money, that means we're making a bunch of money. Mm-hmm. He said, I hope I write you a giant check. And I go, good deal. So and dude, every interaction I've had with them and Strike King has been freaking top notch. Like that's why I've been with them for so like they've done everything. Yeah. They have taken care of me and done everything the right way. Phil led that. And dude, we started working on it, and I have nothing.
Phil passed away end of 2020. Is that when he passed away? End of 2020. He was 55 years old.
No. It was the start of COVID.
Yeah, so it would have been 2020. I'll tell you what. Like, there's very few guys.
There's a tournament I put online. Me and him fished LBJ. It's the only tournament me and him fished. We went and fished the Bass Champs, and I've got it. And we came in second at LBJ. I'd never been there before in my life. We sight fished. He was bandaged up because he couldn't get sun and stuff. And that was at the start of COVID. So that was like the last tournament. I think that was the last tournament of the year before they canceled them all. And then he passed away, I believe, in that November.
Mm-hmm. He, along with Tim Tucker, Phil Marks was one of the guys that I didn't get to know in the fishing industry, but without a doubt, unequivocally, I work with the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, done some stuff with him as far as honoring it and stuff. But guys talk about Aaron a lot still, and even it doesn't matter who you're affiliated with. Like, Phil Marks still comes up so regularly, just in fishing circles and conversations of guys just talking about, just Phil. I think he had a much bigger impact on the industry as a whole, how the industry is ran, how baits are designed, products, how anglers are treated, how the whole thing is done. Like, I think he has a lot more impact than the average fan would realize. Big behind the scenes guy.
Big behind the scenes guy. Big knew all the guys. Like, man, we would sit for hours and talk about the industry, about baits, and about like why did you do this? Why did you do that? Like, why aren't y'all trying to build this with Strike King? All the little stuff that I started. Like, he's like, Todd, and we're all guilty of this. When you don't know any of that, you're just like, I want to build this bait to help me catch more fish. And then he's like, yeah, but man, that bait's great for you, like on your little lake or whatever you're doing, but that doesn't reach the masses. This is the things you got to start thinking about. And so then it started making me really think about baits in like a big perspective, like the big scheme of things. And so I really started. And that's very hard. It's very hard when you start having to bring in all that. Like, in Strike King is way bigger now. Like, it's even harder, right? I mean, you got to start worrying about all the different stores you got to go into and how to launch them and how to do market. And it becomes this whole giant process that it's not just going, hey, why didn't you just make this bait? So it's a lot harder for Strike King. Smaller companies have it easier than Strike King because I don't think this is some big news, but a smaller company can just build something.
You call up
And
the
they can
owner, you
just-
say, do this. He goes, let me call my guy who builds the molds. You make tweaks on it, you do it. Like when
That's
you're
not even
dealing
the
with
hard part. That's the easy part. Then you have it, and you're like, all right, I'm going to go up to so-and-so's tackle store and this and that and call some people up, and they're going to start selling it. Dude, if you did that with Strike King, and then all of a sudden, like, Bass Pro's like, why does so-and-so have these and we don't? Oh, my gosh, right?
Mhm.
So, like, you got these relationships, and so you have to, like, do it all at once, and you have to go – there's, like, timelines and, like – and, you know, people don't realize this. Like, that's why even like iCast, like things come out in iCast, and then all of a sudden November they start shipping. Well, you can't just ship 50 of them or 100 of them to a tackle store. You got to ship like 4,000 of them. So you have to have 4,000 of them made and have them in Bass Pro, Tackle Warehouse, Academy, right, and Walmart. And then, dude, there's so much that goes involved that it's just not like. That's why usually a lot of the baits come out in small companies first. The big companies have them. You just can't release them. Like, people don't know that, and they're probably not going to believe you, but it's just like
way more hoops.
Yeah, so like I could have come out with a popping perch and had it for a year, and someone could have come out with it. And you got to watch companies overseas. Like, once they have that, they don't care.
No,
they can
Temu popping perch.
There's a lot when people read those comments online about stuff. People don't realize some of it they do. I try not to copy anything. Like all the stuff that kind of has my name.
Yeah, but what you have copied, like the Bubba and that type of stuff, like
Yeah,
you don't hide it. You're like, hey, this is what it was. It's not made anymore. It's not out. We tweaked it. I changed what I liked better. Went to Strike King. We made it. I mean, there's no.
So like,
it's not like you're saying I invented this bill shape and this bait and the.
Well, so we talk about that, about like Strike Pro. So all that went down, and then the Bubba came around. The Bubba story with Phil Marks is like one of my best all-time favorite stories. But because you want to talk about he had zero interest in this thing, right? And so it took 2 trips with this bait, and the second one went about as good as you could possibly go. And then we started making it. The first trip I thought went phenomenal, and he sloughed it off like it was nothing. And I was like, seriously? But anyways, he's like, can we make this thing? And I'm like, yeah, but man, it's gonna be hard to make this thing perfect. And he's like, well, do you know those guys at Strike Pro? And I'm like, well, the overseas guys, I still have a guy from his name's Leif Collins. Leif was awesome. And he was where's he? I forget where he's from. So anyways, he was like a different branch, like the American branch, right? They still send me, like, where's that gift they sent me the other day? Freaking awesome gift. It's right over there. So anyways, I call him up and I said, hey, would y'all be interested in like licensing it out? Or I didn't call him. I got in touch with him, said, can I have my guys call you? And I called the president's son. Well, anyways, they got on, Phil and them talked, and they got it licensed out, and we're going to get Strike Pro to make them. Fast forward to now, dude, Strike Pro is one of the leading companies we work with. Like,
really?
Oh yeah. They help build a lot of our baits. So like at iCast, dude, we go eat dinner with them every year. Like all the people, like, and that was somehow I was the connection for all that.
Yeah.
And so I feel pretty proud of that that was just me calling them up, emailing, because my relationship with Strike Pro overseas was phenomenal. It was just with the guy here. So like I said, I learned a lot in that relationship to this day. Like I said, I mean, I got a Christmas gift. Like, dude, they send me some of the most phenomenal Christmas gifts. It's like the most weird. Oh, it's right. Dude, you got a second?
Yeah.
Dude, you got to look at this.
Okay. See, Todd still has the Christmas mantle up.
Just different stuff. So I get this and then they sent me this box.
Okay.
Right. It's always like top notch looking, this different stuff. And so they got this, and
we still haven't been able to really see what the hell. Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's like a GT popper.
Oh, dude, it's freaking. So I used to
like
throw
the giant trevally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look at that. Anyways.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And this cool little, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're always just doing cool stuff.
I like that. Let me run something by you that I tell people. I'm sure you get it a lot, but I have people, hey, I really love to get into the industry. How do I start and stuff? And one of the biggest things that I say, and I think you've just proved it in this interview that has nothing to do with it, is, in life, there's the 6 degrees of separation. You can always connect someone through 6 degrees. I say in bass fishing, it's 2 degrees of separation. And it does not matter if you are in the industry and you do this, it's a 2 degrees of separation rule instead of 6. It's very big, but I mean, you could name someone who works in the industry full time, and if I don't know them, I know someone who knows them. And it's like that. It doesn't matter. Just the webs and the ways that things are interconnected and weave in and out. It's 2 degrees of separation, which then puts a lot more emphasis on how you treat people, how you conduct your business, how you do things behind the scenes. Because with 2 degrees of separation, regardless of what happens, you can't hide being an asshole.
Yeah. I was so.
Is that true, or I mean,
no,
do you agree with that?
So I think you'll agree with me on this, is that, like, if I try to tell people all the time that this one, it's like, you better fish like everyone's watching when no one's watching. That's on the water, because there's some stuff that's going on right now. I think even at the first Rayburn BFL, and it might come out today. I don't know. I got some phone calls about it, and I don't think some of these guys are taking this stuff seriously. And a lot of bass fishermen don't talk about it. They'll never talk about it like live like this, right? Because it's just not even worth it to go down that road. But we all talk. Matt, me and you, like, Matt, how many conversations have me and you had on the phone? They're longer than this.
Yeah.
All of us do. And just like one of my phone calls today from an elite guy this morning, and me and him, we're friends. We talk all the time. And there's industry people, like there's reporters I talk to. They just call me up because they know I'm gonna be like, what's going on down there, Todd? I'm like, I don't know, man. And when I say this, is like, your reputation in the fishing, some people can have bad reputations and make it, right? But I always tell people, because if they ask, like, everyone's situation is different. So you kept on asking me, like, hey, how come, when did you get out actually on a boat on Livingston? I'm like, not for years. There's another kid out there, right, that's on the water every day. And dude, he can, like, screw over every sponsor. He can screw over everyone he wants to, because money is not an object for him. It's nothing to him. So he can act and he can conduct himself however he wants to. And that's fine. You can do that as well. But you are absolutely, like, engraving who you are to all these people around. And you better be one heck of a fisherman, better than everyone else.
Never have a
to overcome some of that. And I just think that a lot of us, like, I always say, a lot of the good guys, it seems like, seem to flock together, and a lot of the other ones, whatever. And I suggest people, if you're one of the good ones, try to find the other good ones, right? And it's not usually hard, but, like, and then those relationships go on somewhere. And so it just takes one phone call. And I don't think people realize, Matt, you've gotten them. Have you ever gotten a phone call like, hey, you know this guy? And you're like,
I got one yesterday.
Yeah. And you're like, it can go one or two ways. It's like, I know of him. Or it's like, oh yeah, dude, I can't speak for anyone else, but he's been great with me. I've never heard a bad thing. It's one of those two. And I promise you, most guys, if they hear that, I'm like, hey, do what you want to at your own risk.
I do it with guests all the time on BTL. I'm like, hey, I'm thinking of having this guy on. I know this guy knows him. I'll call him up and I'll be like, hey, I want to get a hold of, you should have had him on 5 years ago. You've been missing the boat on this guy. You would have added it. Sometimes they'd be like, it's okay. And other times they'd be like, not my cup of tea.
Well, like I said, Phil Marks and me just met from, like, not calling him up or any of that stuff. It was just on the water. I don't think he'll get upset about this. Hayden Marbut texted me yesterday And he's like, I don't really text him. I think I've got like, I don't really know him.
Mhm.
But he was fishing a tournament on Rayburn, a Toyota, like last year. And I pulled up my boat next to him, right? I didn't know. We're just all pulling up, and I'm like, we start to talking. And I don't know Hayden from anything, other than him like doing really good and stuff. And we got to talking, and we're just sitting there, and I'm like, hey, man, if you ever get down this way, here's my number. Holler at me. So I got his number, same thing. And he just texted me the other day. Is like, man, I got that tournament coming up. Dude, it was like, is there anything I need to worry about with stumps? I'm like, no, you're good. He's like, all right, cool. Thanks, man. If there's ever anything you need to, that was our entire conversation, was just that. And
he's won almost $500,000 since 2020.
Yeah. And it was just like, he's like, hey, what are you fishing this year? And I told him, he said, all right, cool. He's like, well, if you get to fish a Toyota up this way, holler at me. And it's just, you meet guys, the fishermen, like at an ICAST, you're with some buddies and you meet someone, or you just pull up next. I met Scott Martin at a lock in the Arkansas River because we like tied up next to each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was my first encounter with Scott Martin, us tying up with each other at an open or something or whatever. I don't know what maybe it was a tour. I don't know what we were fishing. We just happened to tie up next to each other at the lock. As there, and we have how you have a 10-minute long conversation. That's it. And so you never really know who you're talking to. I'll tell you this one too. I used to laugh. I'd be on the boat with Phil or people within the industry, and some guy would say something or whatever, and I'm like,
I'm sponsored by Strike King.
Yeah, they have no idea. Like the head of Strike King is like sitting in the boat with me, or you've had two like heads of like companies, like their head pro staff person is in the boat and they just listen to a conversation. I'm like, they have no idea that this person could easily be, is listening to everything.
I won't say names, but this is one of the funniest stories. So I was at a media event 8-10 years ago. The guys, you go out with your guy and you do the thing. Yeah. This guy said, hey, he's in the boat with the media guy, doesn't know who the hell he is. They have this new bait out. Guy says, I want to get some video, some footage of you talking about this bait. And guy says he went out and just badmouthed the crap out of the bait the whole time. I don't know why we went into production. There's 8 other things. I don't know how I'm going to use it, blah, blah, blah. He gets back, and then like the guy with the company goes, oh, how was it with Joe? And he's like, yeah, it was fine or whatever. And he goes, well, that's the only reason he's here is he's the inventor of that bait. And the guy goes, wait, say what? And he goes, yeah, he's the one that we like bought the rights for that bait from. He's the one who invented it, the whole 9 yards. Like he's doing a talk tonight about it, kind of introducing it to everybody. And he goes, you're playing a joke on me, right? And he's like, no, why? And he goes, because I just trash talked that thing with him in the back of the boat for 3 hours and he never said a single word. I mean, it was pretty funny.
Dude, it happened. Like I said, man, there's a lot of people within the industry that you would not know who they are that would fish as a co-angler, just be around, and you have no clue who they are. And
I'm not saying you have to be friends. You have to like everybody. Different strokes for different folks. I mean, it has in real life. There's some people that like you're not their cup of tea. There's some people that freaking hate BTL. It is. I have no problems with that. With the good comes the bad. The fact that different people like different stuff and different people get along with different people is what makes the world go around and why we coexist. But I think this gave me a lot more clearer picture of kind of your story, where you came. Because you're like, dude, you have a lot of confidence, Todd. Like that. I mean, no one's ever gonna accuse you of not having self-confidence. But I think when you like see the story and how it came up and how things worked and all that, it makes a lot more sense.
You think it's confidence in fishing. I think it's confidence in the fact that like I'm not bound by anything anymore.
Yeah.
And so I always tell everyone.
But you also have conviction in what you say. That's big. You're not saying what you think you should say. You're saying that you're having conviction in what you say because you're not bound by anything, because you're comfortable in what you've done.
It's that too, but it's like the fishing deal. Dude, I've led tournaments and broke down. That I can go through that again. Like I've already been down that road, right? There's not much I haven't been through within the industry, within tournaments, within people, with all of that stuff that I haven't been down. So it's like, I think one of the hardest things to do, and I think there's now that I'm thinking about this is probably a pretty good topic. When you're young, it's pretty scary. So I think there's certain things that can get to you, like integrity, right? One of them is when you're young, you're trying to make a name for yourself, right? So I'm not saying you push the limit, but like you're going like nonstop, like everything matters, right? You think that. And then as you get older and you get comfortable and you're like get on a roll, like everything kind of comes a little easy in fishing. There's a timeline when fishing is somewhat easy. Everyone goes through it. Like everyone has that like a 10-year span.
The sweet spot.
Yeah. And then I think as you get older, that sweet spot doesn't come as much anymore, right? And things get in the way, family or just whatever it might be. Family's not in the way with me, but it's just
it's like, your priorities change to where it's not as important to you anymore because what was valuable to you at 30 is no longer as valuable to you at 40.
You didn't have that to worry about. You just had yourself. And so then, and I think some older people can like then start getting a little bit like where things don't come as easy and then they start to push a little bit again. And so I just look at it all as going, I try to stay real. I just don't know what else could happen that would be so that I haven't gone through. So I kind of let everything, like I put a lot of trust in the Lord, a lot. And so when I do that, not making the elites was not like, it's such a big deal that I'm not even trying to fish the opens. And so when all this stuff goes down, like I thought leaving FLW was a big deal and then it didn't. And then it turned into this other thing. And I'm like, okay. And so I always look back at everything going, if he's in control of all this and I'm good with it and I don't sit there and go off of what I think I should do, just let it go. You know, I pray about it and stuff and everything. And I'm like, okay, he has this mapped out and it's probably better than what I would have done. And I tried to do it all up until, so when I was 20, remember that Toledo Bend event?
Yeah.
I told it. Well, I tried to do everything my way up until that point through my entire life. I believed in Jesus. I was a Christian, but man, I tried to do it all my way. Like these were my decisions. I'm going to do it. And he broke me down so hard, so fast over that event that if I went into that story, it's like, I couldn't even make it up. Like the day before what all happened to me. It's the wildest of all of my stories. It's the wildest one. And then to see how it unfolded, and then it was like, oh, okay. And it was crazy. So I look at all this stuff as going, I'm going to be all right. It's going to be okay. There's going to be doors that open, doors that don't. This regional thing. I look at it now and I see all this stuff going on professionally with certain people and this and that. And I'm sitting here and I'm like looking around going, my life's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. I don't have this like, $1 million home or any of this stuff. But I'm like, dude, like I played an hour and a half of soccer with my kids yesterday and then an hour or something in basketball with them. And I mean, like
dead.
Yeah.
That's 2 hours, 2.5 hours of cardio.
Dude, we went and smashed on Big Crappie the day before, me and Michael,
He laid in the backyard with an inhaler.
So
no, it's good stuff. Clint said this. He goes, I had a staff derby against Davey Hike, caught him good on a mop jig. Later at dinner, he asked how I caught him. I said, on a mop jig, you ever throw it? Clint's on BTL tomorrow. We're going to talk about all sorts of the media side, the industry side of it. One of the bright young minds that really grinded hard to get in, did a bunch of stuff for not a lot of money, and is paying off on the back end. Also fishes Lanier, does a podcast stuff on that. I got some new cameras. He's been helping me out with that. But I think this was like some of your best work today, Todd. Like I really, really enjoyed this.
You didn't berate me like the first time, I felt more comfortable.
I thought it was good. I thought we got a lot of, I didn't know any of that story. Like it's interesting. Like, well, now that I'm married, like my wife will ask about like guys and their families, right? And I'll be like, I think he has 2 kids. And she'll be like, what do you mean? Like you have known him for 14 years. You've roomed with him for 6 years. And I'm like, I think he has 2 kids and is still married, or whoever it is that I'm talking about. And they're like, what the hell do you talk about? And I'm like, fishing
Brittany,
and what we're eating that night.
Brittany would go, she was like, well, you hadn't fished with Brent in a month. How was it? And I was like, awesome. And he was like, so like, she starts asking me questions. And I'm like, I don't know. No clue. And she was like, you were in the boat with them for 10 hours. I'm like, none of that stuff came up. She's like, what don't talk about? I'm like, oh, well. And I was like, probably the most, like, Brittany, have you ever watched Step Brothers or freaking any of those? Well, I mean, the dumbest stuff possible.
Yeah.
And the funniest stories ever about nothing. And I was like,
I'd have no guys for 10 years couldn't name their kids.
Yeah.
Now I could tell you their top 5 confidence baits in order and where they finished in the BFLs in 2014, but I couldn't tell you the names of their kids. And that's not because I'm not great friends or because I don't care. It's just, you're around these people, you're doing it. And then once you're in it, you're working, you're getting stuff done. I mean, you just don't often get shit. But also it's weird. Like, I mean, you're not going to be like in a house like grilling ribeyes and be like, so Todd, tell me about your childhood. Like that would be weird in a house. Like this is like an odd dynamic where you have it to where you're kind of have, like in today's day and age, think about it. When was the last time you had, and I know we're on a computer and people are listening to this on their phones and in their vehicles and stuff, but when was the last time you like had a face-to-face hour-plus long talk with like when was the last time you just met someone in a coffee shop and were like, hey, let's talk about life for the next 2 hours?
Never in my entire life.
Exactly.
And never will it. Like
exactly. That'd be so weird. I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm not showing up to that. But I do it every day.
You know why I'm good friends with certain people? Like the like kind of like the Phil Marks thing. Hallman was the same. Like, well, me and Hallman roomed together, so that was and traveled a lot. But I would say same thing with Russell. When you travel with people, like say me and you are going to go somewhere, not together, but say we're going to go fish and open, right? I hate driving to me after all these years. It still sucks, right? The way the time goes by faster than anything else is on the phone. So like, I don't know how many times like me, you, Andrew, like we're all like on a 3-way chat, just driving down the road, talking about whatever.
Mm-hmm. You look down, it's an hour and 20 minutes later and you're like, holy crap.
Oh yeah. That was awesome that it went by that quick. So like most of the time it was through that stuff, and then, rooming with Hallman, it would be like late at night or something like that, or something happens late at night. Like someone, something goes through something a little bit,
mm-hmm.
Someone had a bad day at school or something happened, you kind of get to know some stuff through that.
Hallman was the best at like, as long as he was like chilled out and he was catching them a little bit, he was the best at having 2 or 3 Coors Lights. And he was one of the few guys who would be like, come out on the porch and have a beer with me.
Yeah, that's what we
drink or whatever. And then you just sit like, I think I actually got to spend New Year's with Hallman. I called him up. We both have smokers for our Alaskan salmon, and we're setting up a time where we can get some smoked salmon. We're going to do a day of smoked salmon, but I talk to him at OU football games and see him at the end of the year there, but he's doing great. Everything's fine. Doing a lot of hunting. Kids are doing fantastic. Not very happy with how the season ended for OU, but very optimistic for the 2026 season. But yeah, no, still Hallman. Like he was super grounding. I really learned a lot rooming from him because I'm a little bit of a squirrel. I'm like, okay, I'm doing this, but what if this? I worry in my head. And Hallman did such a good job of being like, that's what you're gonna do. Quit worrying about it. Trust in yourself. Run your game plan. Screw what everybody else is doing. Screw all the variables. Figure it out when you get out there. You got this.
Y'all were a lot of y'all were always like, I was like 5 minutes of redoing stuff, done, whatever. I think when you fish as many tournaments like that, after a while, you just kind of, like I said, it's very hard to plan your day. Mm-hmm. And so when you try, I planned my day a lot of times when I was leading those events, and my plan had nothing to do with breaking down or doing that. So you start realizing, or, you're boat 164 and you realize you're not going to get all that stuff. You realize you just eventually just go fishing and you're like, man, I can worry about it and try to plan it. But for the most part, it's all going to be different when I get out there. or you fish enough of them. I'd put it this way. Would you agree that 75 to 80% of your tournaments don't go how you planned them?
A portion of the day does not.
Yeah.
Oh, just overall out of the whole thing? Oh, 90%.
Like, I'm going to start here and I'm probably going to catch. And then you're like, well, wait a minute.
I would say it's 1 or 2 a year, regardless of whatever level you go to.
Whatever level.
Go out and you're like, that one is planned. At least for me. Yeah. Just as a whole.
Like when we had 30 pounds a couple of times, that's how it went. It's 8 o'clock and like that went right.
Yeah. I also feel like it's because we fish. I say you fish down south a lot where fish move and change. I think the further north you get, I think the more consistent your fish are. So like, I think if you were to ask that same question to someone on Thousand Islands or Oneida or Champlain or something, they'd be like, oh, like 80% of the time I know I'm going to have between 20 and 22 pounds.
Oh yeah. No.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's just this top part of the year where like, I mean, stuff changes on a daily basis.
I'd say me and Russell's team events, he would say that 95% of our starting spots suck, that we make the wrong decision on them, and that we like it almost, I would say like 95% of our tournaments don't go the way we think it's going to go.
Which is a mark of a good angler, that you can then pivot, recover.
Yeah, I mean they go close, but not rarely do they go.
Yeah, I know, but there's a lot of guys who would spiral. I've spiraled before at first stop. I'd been like, oh, I'm done. It's not a good feeling. It's not that I mean, I am well open about it. I'm well aware of it. Like I have years and I have times, I have periods where I'm like, all right, well, we're going to have to figure out something different. What did I learn from that? And it's super easy. But I also have times where I'm like, well, that sucked. And then it's like 7.5 hours of just mental hate. I'm being honest here, Todd.
No, I know. I'm thinking. I mean, it. Like I said, I always just when you're younger. When I was younger, and I remember being in college, and I was delivering pizzas and stuff, and like, I lived in this apartment, and rent's due, and I used to like, I'd have rent. And a tournament would be going on, and I'm like, I'd take that rent money and I'd go put it up on a tournament. And it was like legit stuff, like scary stuff. And so we used to do it. I mean, we used to get checks all the time and do good.
Rojas used to do it. A bunch of those guys used to do it. I had the first time ever. So I knew I was getting married in October, and I had that August tournament on Leech. I told you before that tournament last year I was going to catch him. He had like an hour-long talk with me about my mentality game. And I top 10'd it. Yeah, and then like an asshole, the only thing you texted me was couldn't catch 5 on day 2. Awesome. I told Blake just goes, Anyway, this year, totally different. Day canceled. Go out on the second day. Had 20 pounds. Was in 25th going in. Knew another 20 pounds would put me in the top 5. Just knew that that's the way it would. Caught 3 big ones early, then caught a 4th, and I was on the water, and I knew what I was doing because I couldn't move, and I was in 5-footers, and locked to the butt seat, and I was throwing 3/4 ounce of jig, and it's like 11, and I think to myself, if I catch one more fish, I said I just paid for all the rest of our wedding expenses. We'll have absolutely zero debt. I can start building the barn on the slab behind my house, and all of these things are just taken away with 1 4-pound smallmouth, and I have 3 hours to catch it. And it was like the first time in my life that had ever come into my mind, like during, and it was fine. It's not like I was, destitute before, because this is my main, but it was weird being out there going like, okay, like I'm 1 fish away from I wouldn't say life-changing, but it would have been a subtly life-changing fish. And I knew that would have given me 20. I would have had 40. I didn't know that would have potentially won the tournament at the time. But, and then it got 12, and then it got 12:30, and then it got 1. And it was just it was an interesting feeling being like, okay, like you have the opportunity, and it didn't happen. And I went in, I said, I would do it all over again. I just wasn't meant to be.
It was, I've gotten like, I remember, I want to tell you a quick story real quick. My first ever tour event, right? Okeechobee. It was a hard practice, whatever. And then ended up catching kind of okay on day one, caught a limit on day two, knew I had enough to make a check. And I remember catching number 5 was going to get, and I remember reeling that fish in going, that's a $10,000 fish. Now that's not making 10,000. Well, at the time, since Costa was paying for it,
I was making like 10,000.
Yeah, it's like a 2.5, 3 pounder.
Yeah.
It's a $10,000 fish I got on, and like I was like, oh my gosh, right? I've been where you're at a little bit at times. I've also been on the complete opposite, and that open on Toledo Bend, I'll never forget this. Like I'm in like 7th or 9th place. I was on them so good for that event, sight fishing, right? So day one, I caught like 19 or 20 pounds. I don't know, something like that. It was in like 7th or 9th. I was so nice. It was my first open ever. It was like one of the highest. I think there was like 200. All the elites were in there.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. Ish, Clun. Like I just, there was like, because they were traveling from an event, going to another event, and they put Toledo literally in its path. So they all fished it. So it was like crazy amounts of people. I'm in like 7th or 9th after day one. And day two, like just almost broke down. Didn't have a great day. Kind of caught some fish, whatever. Not like, because what I was on in practice, bed fishing, they canceled day one actually because of weather. So I think we all fished 2 days. And I had to go find all new fish, whatever. So I get in and remember, I'd had a horrible, like the whole experience before that was not horrible, but it was different than everything else. So I pull up, and everyone's there, and I pull up on the grass and I get out, and there was one person that I talked to, Gerald Pringle. Okay. And Gerald Pringle's right there. And I'm like, and Gerald's good at Toledo, right? And I was like, older guy, and I was like, yeah, you catch him? Because he was one of the only guys I kind of knew. He's like, yeah, I caught him pretty good. I had like 21 pounds. And I was going. And I think I knew I had like 20, something like that. And I was like, I think Gerald was in front of me. Or maybe he was like right with me, right? Mm-hmm. So like I got my bag of fish and I'm walking up there. I don't talk to anyone else. I think Hallman's behind me in line and James Niggemeyer's right there. Mm-hmm. I'm like, James, you caught him? Because I knew James a little bit. And he's like, only 2 people I talked to. He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, and everyone's in line. And he's like, yeah, I got like 20 or something. And I'm like, or 23 or something like that. I'm like, okay. So I go weigh in my fish. I was like an early boat number. Weigh in my fish. I think Gerald already weighed in. So I put my fish down. He's like, Todd Castledine, 2nd place. Right. And I'm like, well, shoot. James is right behind me.
You're 3rd, then you're 4th, then you're 5th.
3rd, right? And there's like 180 people to go. So I'll never forget this. I put it up there, whatever. So I'm not excited at all. I didn't launch right. No, I think I did launch right there. So I go up there and I see some guys I knew. And I talked to them in the parking lot the entire time. For like an hour and a half, I sit there, maybe 2 hours. And we're sitting there talking to them. And I'm not even around weigh-in. I'm not thinking about anything. And Clark Reen comes walking by. He's like, Todd, come on. They're giving out checks. And I was like, all right, man. And I'm bummed about the whole situation. He's like, dude, you're going to get a good check. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, dude, I think you're in 3rd. I'm like, I was in 3rd at the beginning of I was in 2nd. I know I already dropped to 3rd. I don't even know if I'm in the top 10. He's like, I think you're in 3rd, dude. And I remember walking down there going, and because I was like, I thought it was a pretty good day, right? The only 2 people I talked to caught them better than I did. And that was when Gerald Pringle and James Niggemeyer tied.
Yeah, they had 37-14, had to go to the fish off.
Yeah, I think I had.
Literally were
what did I have?
35-11.
Okay. Maybe I didn't have 20. Maybe I had 19 and 17. I don't know.
You went, it was a 2-day tournament. You went 18-17.
Okay, 18-17.
James had 19-10 on day 2, and Gerald had 20 pounds, 2 ounces. So
yeah,
literally,
so I was right. So those guys beat me on day 2. And I was going, and I was like, those aren't big weights. You know, I'm like, we were like, I thought it was going to take.
Yeah, you're thinking like, I'm going to cash a friggin' $3,000 check and totally blow this thing.
Well, I didn't even know what the checks were. I didn't even like pay attention to what you could win. It was my first open.
So you're about to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and so then I get this trophy and a $20,000 check, and I go, and I mean, talk about like my whole day just turned around. So it can kind of go both ways. Sometimes you're not. At times, sometimes when you're younger, you're just fishing. Sometimes you're like fishing for a rent check. And as I've gotten older, like I don't sit there and think about like each fish I catch, like this is the defining moment,
dude,
you know. But
that tournament was wild. So you had James Niggemeyer, Gerald Priggle, you had Arnie Lane in 5th, Edwin, Dennis TJ.
Hey, Keith Chalker was Keith Chalker in 4th?
Yeah, he was in 4th. I don't know.
Dude, that dude was a stud around Texas.
Was he?
Him and Charles Bever.
But then listen to this. This is just the top 20. Included Sam Newby, Lance Vick, Chris McCall, James Strickland, Carl Sviebeck, Clark Ream, Homer Humphreys, Harold Allen, Todd Faircloth, Dave Mansue. That was just the top 20. That's pretty good.
But I think Ish was in that. Like, I think if you go back down the list, like, see how many elite.
Cliff Crochet was 22nd. Cliff Pace, Stephen Browning, Hallman 23rd. Remitz 27th. Birdman, Kirk Dove, Upshaw 34th. Like, yeah, there's a lot. We have to knock this out. So I'm headed to a lake in Oklahoma. I've never done this before. I got to get my tag from the wildlife department. Make sure everything's barbless. Go through all of it. I've never spoon-billed before.
I haven't. I just know
Big giant.
Are you all snagging them?
Yeah, that's the only way to catch them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Scope. I mean, straight up scope them.
Why do you have to go barbless if you're snagging them?
Because you're releasing them, and it's the rules.
Oh, okay. My bad. Yeah.
Anyway, it's one of those things where you have to do like all the reading because there's stuff like from the I-35 to the 40 bridge on sunny days on Tuesdays. You can't, all that crap. But they set the world record a couple times here in Oklahoma on Keystone. So Cranford, who just made the Elite Series, who's gung-ho, whose life depends on everything, who like 24/7, 365 the last 4 days has been like, the Elite Series is the Holy Land. And what's that like? I mean, it's been cool to watch him because, I mean, it's just like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm out here grinding on this pond because I think it might be similar to the tournament that I have in 2 months. And, I figured him out on this lake. So I'm done with that one. Now I'm going to go to the next one. He called me yesterday morning at like 5 a.m. He's like, can I catch 30 pounds at X place that you went? And I was like, yeah, I think you can. He's like, okay. So he went out and caught 30 pounds in Oklahoma with a 4-pounder. Like, it's cool to watch him. He's like, so anyway, we're doing this video where he goes to Lucky Lure. So he gets that in, and then he's got his rod sponsor that makes a 7-Eleven flipping stick. So he's going to get that. He's with Sunline now. So he's using the Sunline braid. And then I'm meeting him out at Keystone, and we're going to see if we can't snag one of these freaking dinosaurs. I have no idea what we're doing. But I texted him and I said, hey, it's going to be 12 o'clock. And his response was, okay, I figured Todd would talk for 12 hours.
Oh, come on, man.
It was good though, dude.
Yeah.
It was very good. Are we doing Open Pros Pick'em this year?
Yeah. There's like, we're trying to get a surprise guest. He called me up the other day, not a guest, like a guy to do it with us.
So it's not me, you, Ish, and
well,
Andrew?
It might be. It might. Well, I think are we doing Open Pros Pick'em, or are we doing the other thing we talked about? Like all of it?
I don't know.
Well, there's the other guy that got mentioned that might go with this, like called me up the other day. He was like, hey, are we still doing this thing?
Okay.
I don't know.
We'll see.
I
greatly appreciated it. Hopefully. What are you fishing this year? Just everything like you normally fish? Just some regional stuff, some jumping it, jackpot? You fishing Toyotas again? The whole just
the Opens kind of pissed me off about the fact of like not their fault, but just how they lined up with the Toyotas are in the off limits of the Opens, so like it made all of us choose between Toyotas or Opens.
I ain't mad about that.
No.
Fishing the Opens, but also this year it doesn't matter because if you're jackpotting, they're not giving you points for the Opens this year.
Yeah, but I said and I didn't want to I'm not a guy who jackpot stuff. Like I usually fish all of them, and so, but yeah, I can't fit. I had to I have to either go Toyotas or Opens. I just didn't.
And Toyotas make more sense for you.
Well, yeah, that's the sucks is that like there's a championship involved, and like I was like, I don't know. So
I got some new music and no one has berated me on it yet. Like I tried to do new music before. I feel like that's kind of like a quirky, fun vibe.
I thought your beginning was good, man. Did you do all that?
Yeah.
That's good.
There ain't no one else here. It's just me.
I didn't know if you hired someone to do all that. That's good.
Like, see so that's like all of the conditioners and the power plays and all that stuff. And then
all your graphics and stuff?
Huh?
All your graphics and stuff?
Yeah, all the graphics are in here. So then like I can just go to media asset. So like throw BTL up. I can throw BTL up. I can do whatever I want there. What else do I have up here? I got Bates. I got Frank Scalish stuff. That's Frank Scalish when he was like 20 years old. Anytime he says something like this exciting, there's another Frank Scalish. When we do like the best on tour, there's that. I can do whatever I want, and then I can like fade it out. We did 2 hours without any commercials. So like if I want to hit a AFCO commercial or anything, like watch it.
I fish in some of the worst elements across the country.
And I can end it.
I just laugh at Zona. Sorry.
Why?
Just cause, man.
Like if I want to hit the deep.
When I'm in a tournament, conditions are constantly changing. And
there it is. See, I can get all my commercials in because the show's sponsored by Bass.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up.
There you go. I got some major ones.
I just laugh at
I can't say I didn't do it.
My phone calls with Zona sometimes sound like I'm fishing.
Hey, bud.
Yeah. That's why I laugh, because I'm like, that's how my conversations with him go.
I fish in some of the worst elements across the country. Spring. That's a giant, dude. Summer. Oh my gosh. Hi. Look at that thing. Winter. It's so cold. And fall. Got a big one. That's awesome. Being comfortable and staying dry is the only option. AFCO. Any fish, any water.
Those are really how my conversations with him go.
That's a really good commercial.
Yeah, it is really good. That's why I laughed.
All right, I'm going to let you go. Busy day for BTL. Yeah, I'll let you go, and then I'll just wrap it up for it. Now, screw it. I'll close the show with you. We've been here for 2 hours. Why kick you out in the last 2 minutes? Busy day for BTL. This, and then going to shoot with Cranford. Try to get on it'll be a PB. It'll kick off the year with a PB paddlefish. And then tonight, 7 p.m., debut of CTL Giant River Slabs. The edited video drops, and then right on the back end of that, we'll roll right into the live show. And then I think next week's one's going to be a catch and cook. I'm a big connoisseur of cooking fish. The most underrated way, my buddy Juice told me, Todd, crappie on the half shell. You get one of those bigger crappie, 12 and a half, 13 inches, scrub the slime off the back, keep the scales on, and then cook it like you would a redfish.
That's my only way to cook redfish. Like I said, me and my son went and caught a bunch of crappie, big ones, because they're all. You got to try
it with the crappie. It's absolutely unbelievable. You put all the seasoning on it. You do it on the grill just like you would with the redfish, and then you put a little ranch in it, and it seeps through the meat on it, and then you eat it right off of the skin.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that next. What is the Send me like the video.
Yeah, I'll send you the whole recipe and stuff like that. Like,
Dude,
my buddy Juice, like, I don't know if you're a pellet grill guy. I smoke them a little bit, but only not a lot, because that meat's soft and has a lot of moisture in it, so it'll absorb the smoke. But just like a 10-minute smoke, then I put it up to like 325, 350, put all your seasonings on it just like you would a redfish.
Yeah.
But you've got like 4 fillets, the scales are still on them, and it's just, you get tired of doing the fried fish over and over again.
I don't do fried fish.
Yeah, this is the way to do it.
We do the oven thing with fish tacos, because I don't like doing the fried fish. I like fried fish, but the fish tacos are easier. But my favorite only way to eat redfish is on a half shell.
Yeah,
So I would love,
Works
yeah, I
just
want
like
to try
with the
that.
crappie. I can't take credit for it. My buddy Juice from Juice's Jigs, he's the one who figured it out. But it's awesome.
Yeah, I want to try that.
All right, Todd Castledine, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Matt.
Will you have a video about the Rayburn BFL over on your channel in the next 48 hours?
Man, I don't know if they might come out with something. I got a phone call. I did some stuff accidentally, like goofing around, like some satire stuff yesterday, and then a little bit of satire today. I already got. I don't know about this other thing. I bet you're gonna be. I don't know, man. It might not.
I
be
have
good.
absolutely no idea what you're talking about. I literally just recorded a Best on Tour this week with Dave Rush that's out on the website where I talked about how the first BFL of the year, where they could only scope for 3 hours, went off flawlessly. And the only reason I know about it was when I said flawlessly, you did a Castledine chuckle, which means you know something that I don't know, but you didn't tell me.
I think the 3 hour thing went flawlessly. But I think, old
Maybe
habits
some
are
other things did not go flawlessly.
maybe not. Maybe. Ooh, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, Todd Castledine Fishing, you can check him out on YouTube, all the social medias, Facebook, all that, daily videos. You still going live once a week?
Yeah, I think me and Ish are going. Ish called me up yesterday. I think me and him are going. I had freaking John Cox on the other day. That was freaking awesome. So
I want to do a podcast with both John Cox. Because there's one, and he's older than the Florida John Cox, Georgia John Cox, or Carolina. I think he's Georgia.
The Florida John Cox he's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I haven't really had him. Like it's just said, there's just different circles, and sometimes you get whole circles where you don't get guys in. I do have a first time I've had him on. I got Latimer on next Monday.
Dude, John Cox is great, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
awesome. Super pumped to have Latimer on. We've had Latimer on one time in BTL. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. And every time I come across this stuff or watch it, I'm like, dude, this guy freaking gets it.
Brian gets it.
In the industry. Yeah, he gets it
big time. He was one of those pioneers. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Todd.
All right.
See ya. All right, I'm off to... I honestly have no idea what I'm doing. I have a catfish rod with a big reel, and then I have a Revo winch, which I feel like if you've got a gigantic spoonbill on, like you want something that's low gear ratio. Tonight, 7 p.m., January 6th, CTL. Tomorrow, Wednesday, Clint Bartlett. 8 a.m. Thursday, Frank Scalish, new color drop. We'll talk to everyone later. See ya.